Sarah stood in the doorway of her colonial-style house, her arms crossed, her face set in that expression I'd learned to recognize over the past 3 months, the one that meant she'd made a decision. "Mom," she said, her voice flat, professional, like she was letting go of an employee. "You need to find your own place. This isn't working." I stood there on the driveway, my suitcase in my hand, the one I'd packed that morning after she'd told me we needed to talk. I'd known. Deep down, I'd known. It was November 16th, 2024, a Tuesday, 6:30 in the evening. The sun had already set. The temperature was dropping fast. I could see my breath in the air. "Sarah, I'm sorry, Mom, but I can't do this anymore. You understand, right?" I looked at her. My daughter, 45 years old, the little girl I'd raised alone after her father died, the woman I'd given everything to. And I realized something in that moment. After 30 years of being her mother, I'd become a burden. She didn't say it, but I heard it anyway. I turned, walked to my car, my old Honda Civic, the one I'd been driving for 12 years. The suitcase went in the trunk. I didn't look back at the house, at the guest room window where I'd been staying, at the light in Emma's bedroom on the second floor. I just drove. The cold seeped through the car's heater. My hands shook on the steering wheel, not from the temperature, from something else. Shock, maybe, or the kind of hurt that lives deeper than words can reach. I ended up at the Motel 6 on Route 1. The sign flickered. Vacancy. $39 a night. I could afford maybe 2 months if I was careful. My savings account had $3,800. My pension was $1,800 a month. After that. I didn't let myself think about after that. The room smelled like industrial cleaner and old carpet. The heater rattled. I sat on the edge of the bed, my coat still on, my suitcase still unpacked. And I thought, this is what 68 looks like when your daughter throws you away. I needed coffee. Something warm. Something normal in a night that felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. Phil's corner store was 2 blocks away, the same gas station I'd been going to for 30 years, since Tom and I moved to Connecticut, since before Sarah was born. The fluorescent lights were too bright, the coffee was burnt, but it was familiar. Phil looked up from behind the counter. "Evening, Maggie. The usual?" The usual. For 30 years, Tom and I had a ritual. Every Saturday morning, we'd come here, buy a coffee, a scratch-off ticket, a Powerball entry, $5 a week. "You never know, Maggie," Tom would say with that crooked smile. "Someone's got to win." After he died 8 years ago, I kept it going. It wasn't about the money. It was about him, about routine, about hope. My one small choice in a week that felt increasingly controlled. But this wasn't Saturday. This was Tuesday. The worst Tuesday of my life. "Yeah, Phil," I said. My voice sounded hollow. "The usual." He handed me the coffee, the scratch-off, the Powerball ticket. I paid with a $5 bill, folded the tickets into my coat pocket without looking at them, walked back out into the cold. Back at the motel, I sat in that room. The coffee cooled in my hands. The tickets stayed in my pocket, and I didn't know yet, couldn't have known, that one of those things would change everything. I didn't know that the crumpled lottery ticket I'd bought in the worst moment of my life would be worth $2.3 million. I didn't know that Sarah had just made the biggest mistake of her life. I just knew I was alone, 68 years old, living in a motel, and my daughter had left me out in the cold. Let me tell you how I ended up in that motel room. My name is Maggie Sullivan, Maggie. I'm 68 years old. I taught second grade for 35 years in the Fairfield County school system. I retired at 62, not because I wanted to, because my knees couldn't handle standing all day anymore, and because I thought I'd have time to travel, to read, to do all the things I'd put off while I was raising Sarah alone. My husband Tom died 8 years ago. Heart attack. He was 63. We'd been married 40 years. One day, he was planning our retirement. The next day, he was gone. Sarah was my only child, my whole world after Tom died. She'd done well for herself. Marketing executive at a pharmaceutical company, married David Chen. Good man, quiet. They had 2 kids, Emma, 12, Noah, 9, my grandchildren, the lights of my life. In September, I had a fall. Nothing serious. Slipped on a wet floor in my kitchen, bruised my hip. Spent 2 nights in the hospital for observation. When I got out, Sarah insisted I move in with her temporarily. "Just until you're steady on your feet, Mom," she said. "We have the guest room. It's no trouble." It was trouble. I knew it within the first week. Sarah's life was structured, controlled, every minute planned. She worked from home 3 days a week, needed the house quiet for calls, needed the kitchen at specific times for meal prep, needed space, always space. I tried to make myself small, quiet, invisible. I'd make my coffee before she woke up. Those few minutes at sunrise watching light come through the kitchen window were mine. Until Sarah started setting her alarm earlier. She needed the kitchen. She had a 7 a.m. call. I moved my things out of the bathroom we shared, used only what I absolutely needed, kept my toiletries in a bag under the sink. Sarah rearranged them anyway. They didn't fit her organizational system. I stopped watching TV in the living room. The noise bothered her. I stayed in the guest room, read books, looked at photos of Emma and Noah on my phone, waited for the kids to get home from school so I could help with homework, so I could feel useful. Over 35 years, I gave Sarah everything I had, $85,000 for college. I worked double shifts in the school cafeteria every summer, took on tutoring after hours. Every penny went into her education fund, $40,000 for her wedding. I depleted my savings account, the one Tom and I had built together, $25,000 for the down payment on her first condo. I cashed out part of my retirement fund early, paid the penalty, thought I was helping her build a future. Countless hours of free childcare. I retired at 62, specifically so I could help with Emma and Noah while Sarah built her career. I bought school supplies, paid for summer camps, covered emergency expenses when David's contracting work dried up. I gave her my time, my money, my energy. I thought I was being a good mother. I didn't. Know there'd be an expiration date on my usefulness. Looking back, I realize I ignored the signs. The red flags, Sarah's irritation when I left a coffee mug in the sink, her sharp tone when I asked about her day, the way she'd sigh when I suggested we have dinner together. Small things. But they added up. The worst was when her colleagues came over for a work meeting. She asked me to stay upstairs, said she needed to appear professional. I sat in the guest room for 3 hours, listened to laughter downstairs, felt like a secret she was ashamed of. I should have left then, but I didn't, because I'm 68, and the housing market in Connecticut is brutal, and my pension barely covered my old apartment's rent before I gave it up to move in with Sarah, and because she's my daughter, and I kept thinking it would get better. To be fair, Sarah was drowning. Private school tuition for Emma and Noah ran $70,000 a year. The mortgage on their 4-bedroom colonial was $4,200 a month. David's IT consulting work had dried up after the tech layoffs last spring. She was carrying the family financially, working 60-hour weeks, terrified of losing her job at 45 in an industry that worships youth. I saw the stress lines around her eyes, the way she snapped at David over small things, the Xanax prescription on her bathroom counter that kept getting refilled faster. She'd always been high-strung, even as a child, but lately she seemed brittle, like one more thing would shatter her completely. I was that one more thing. My best friend Diane saw it before I did. We'd been neighbors for 15 years before I moved into Sarah's place. Book club friends, every Thursday night at the public library, mysteries and thrillers, our favorite genre. Diane started texting me more, checking in. "How are you doing, Mags? Everything okay at Sarah's?" I'd lie. Say everything was fine. Sarah was just busy, stressed with work. "You know you can stay with Ed and me," Diane said once. "We have the guest room." I thanked her, said I was fine. Didn't tell her that Sarah had started counting how many times I used the washing machine, or that I'd started skipping meals because I didn't want to take up space in Sarah's kitchen. I should have taken Diane's offer, should have left before Sarah asked me to. But I kept thinking about Tom, about our Saturday morning ritual at Phil's corner store, the lottery tickets, the coffee. "You never know, Maggie," he'd say. "Someone's got to win." Tom believed in possibility, in hope, in small acts of defiance against a world that told working-class people like us to accept our lot. After he died, I kept buying those tickets, not because I thought I'd win, but because it was mine, my choice, my $5 a week. In a life where I'd spent decades putting everyone else first, that ritual was the one thing I did just for me. In my wallet, I kept photos of Emma and Noah. Emma at her 5th grade graduation, Noah missing his 2 front teeth. I'd look at them when Sarah's voice got sharp, when I felt myself shrinking, my grandchildren, the reason I stayed as long as I did. Emma's drawings covered one wall of the guest room, crayon flowers, stick figure families. "I love you, Grandma," in wobbly 2nd grade handwriting. Noah had made me a card for my last birthday, a robot that said, "You're the best." I'd taped it to the mirror. Those small things kept me going, made me think maybe it would be worth it. Maybe Sarah would remember how much I'd sacrificed. Maybe she'd soften. I sold Tom's wedding ring in October. Sarah's water heater broke. She couldn't afford the $1,500 repair. The jeweler weighed the gold, offered me $800. I took it. When Sarah asked where I got the money, I lied. Said I had savings. Didn't tell her I'd sold the last piece of my husband I had left. She never asked if I needed help, never offered to pay me back, just said thanks and moved on. That should have been my sign to leave. But I was 68, with $3,800 in my bank account and a daughter who was supposed to love me. So I stayed, made myself smaller, quieter, more invisible, until the night she told me to find my own place, until I ended up at the Motel 6 with a suitcase and a lottery ticket I didn't even remember buying. I woke up in the Motel 6 the next morning to the sound of a couple arguing in Spanish through the thin walls. For a moment, I didn't remember where I was. Then it came back. The driveway, Sarah's face, the cold. My suitcase still sat by the door, unpacked, like part of me thought I might be going back. I checked my phone. 7:30. Wednesday morning. No messages from Sarah, no missed calls, nothing. I pulled up my bank account, $3,847. If I was careful, that was 2 months at this motel, maybe 3 if I skipped meals. After that, I pushed the thought away. I needed coffee. Real coffee. Not the burnt sludge from Phil's last night. There was a diner 2 blocks down Route 1, the Sunrise Cafe, the kind of place with laminated menus and waitresses who called you honey. I sat in a booth by the window, ordered coffee and toast. Couldn't afford more than that. 2 men sat at the counter, construction workers maybe, mid-50s, work boots and high-visibility vests. "Did you hear?" one of them said. "Someone in Connecticut won the Powerball last night, $2.3 million. "No kidding," the other one said. "Lucky bastard." My hand went to my coat pocket. Instinct. The lottery ticket was still there, crumpled. I'd forgotten about it completely. I pulled it out, smoothed it on the table, pulled out my phone with shaking hands. The Connecticut Lottery website loaded slowly, too slowly. My heart was pounding. This was ridiculous. People didn't win the lottery. Not people like me. Not 68-year-old women living in motels. But I checked anyway. The winning numbers filled my screen. First number, 7. I looked at my ticket. 7, second number, 14, 14. My hands started shaking. I set the phone down, picked it up again. Third number, 21. 21. This wasn't happening. This didn't happen to people like me. Fourth number, 35. 35, fifth number, 42. 42, Powerball, 9. 9. They matched, all of them, every single one. I stared at the screen, then at the ticket, then back at the screen. My coffee sat untouched, cold. The toast sat on the plate, uneaten. The waitress came by. "You okay, honey? You look like you've seen a ghost." I almost told her. The words were right there. I just won the lottery. But something stopped me, some instinct I didn't know I had. "I'm fine," I said. My voice sounded strange, hollow. "Just tired." She refilled my coffee and moved on. I folded the ticket carefully, put it back in my coat pocket, left a $5 bill on the table, walked out without touching my food. Back at the motel, I sat on the edge of the bed, pulled out my phone again, Googled, "What to do if you win the lottery." The first article said, "Don't tell anyone, not yet. Not until you've talked to a lawyer. Not until you've signed the back of the ticket." Sign the ticket. Right. I stood up, went to the bathroom. The fluorescent light buzzed. I looked at myself in the mirror, same woman who'd left Sarah's house 12 hours ago, same gray roots showing, same tired eyes. But something had shifted. I just didn't know what yet. I signed the back of the ticket. Margaret Sullivan. My hand shook so badly I could barely write. $2.3 million. After taxes. I didn't even know how to calculate that. But it was enough. More than enough. I'd never have to depend on anyone again. I sat back down on the bed. The ticket was in my coat pocket. Signed. Mine. And Sarah didn't know. Nobody knew except me. My phone rang. Diane's name on the screen. I almost didn't answer, but Diane would worry if I didn't. "Mags," she said when I picked up. "Where are you? Sarah called me this morning looking for you. She sounded worried." Worried. Now Sarah was worried. "I'm figuring things out, Diane," I said. "Maggie, what happened? Sarah wouldn't tell me anything, just asked if I'd heard from you. She asked me to leave, said I needed to find my own place." Silence on the other end. Then, "Oh, Maggie, I'm so sorry. Come stay with us. Ed and I have the guest room. You know that." "I appreciate it, I do, but I need to handle this myself." "Are you sure? Where are you staying?" "I'm okay, I promise. I just need a few days to think." "Maggie." "I'll call you soon, Diane, I will. But right now I need to figure some things out on my own." Another pause. Then, "Okay, but if you need anything at all, you call me, day or night." "I will. Thank you." I hung up, stared at the phone in my hand. Diane was my closest friend, had been for 15 years. If I could tell anyone, it would be her. But something held me back. The article had been clear. Don't tell anyone. Once people knew you had money, everything changed. I needed to be smart about this. Strategic. For once in my life, I needed to think about myself first. I pulled up the lottery website again, read through the claim process. Connecticut allowed anonymous claims through a trust. That was good. I didn't want my name in the papers. Didn't want strangers coming out of nowhere with sob stories and requests. But first, I needed a lawyer. Someone who specialized in this. Someone who could protect me. I searched Lottery Lawyer Connecticut. Found a law firm in Stamford, Morrison and Associates, elder law specialists, estate planning, asset protection. Perfect. I called the number. A receptionist answered. Professional, efficient. "I need to speak with someone about a legal matter," I said. "What type of legal matter?" I hesitated. Then, "A lottery claim. I need advice on how to proceed." "One moment, please." Soft hold music. My heart pounded. This was real. This was actually happening. "This is Robert Morrison." A man's voice. Calm, measured. "I understand you have questions about a lottery claim?" "Yes, I won last night. The Powerball. And I don't know what to do." "Congratulations, Mrs. Sullivan, Margaret Sullivan." "Mrs. Sullivan, first. Let me ask, have you told anyone else about this?" "No, just you." "Good, that's very good. Have you signed the back of the ticket?" "Yes, just now." "Excellent. Mrs. Sullivan, I'd like to meet with you as soon as possible. Today, if you're available. We need to set up some protections before you claim the prize. Are you free this afternoon?" This afternoon. Everything was moving so fast. "Yes," I said, "I'm free." "Can you come to my office? We're in Stamford, downtown, modern building on Atlantic Street. I'll be there. What time? 2 o'clock. I'll be there. Mrs. Sullivan, one more thing. Between now and then, don't tell anyone. Not family, not friends, no one. Can you do that? Yes. Good. I'll see you at 2. I hung up. Sat there in that motel room. The heater rattled. The couple next door had stopped arguing. Everything was quiet. I'd just set up a meeting with a lawyer to claim $2.3 million. 12 hours after my daughter threw me out. I should have felt triumphant, vindicated, like the universe had finally balanced the scales. But I didn't. I just felt numb and a little bit scared because everything was about to change. And I didn't know yet if that was a good thing or a bad thing. I just knew I couldn't go back. Not to Sarah, not to who I'd been yesterday. That woman who made herself small, who apologized for taking up space. She was gone. And I didn't know yet who I was going to become. I drove to the Connecticut Lottery Commission office in Rocky Hill 3 days later, Saturday morning, November 19th. Morrison had walked me through everything at our meeting, how to claim anonymously, how to protect the money, how to make sure no one could touch it. You'll set up a trust, he'd said. The Sullivan Family Education Trust. The trust claims the prize. Not you. Your name stays out of the papers. The lottery office was in a gray concrete building off Route 91. I parked in the nearly empty lot, sat there for 10 minutes with the engine running. The ticket was in my purse, signed, validated at Phil's corner store the day before. This was real. I was really doing this. Inside, a receptionist sat behind bulletproof glass. She smiled, professional, like this was just another Tuesday for her. Maybe it was. I'm here to claim a prize, I said. Congratulations, do you have your ticket? I slid it through the slot. She examined it. Her eyes widened slightly. Then she picked up the phone. Mr. Chen, we have a Powerball winner. Can you come to the front? 5 minutes later, a man in his 40s appeared. Suit and tie, official lottery badge. He introduced himself as David Chen, not related to my son-in-law, different Chen. Mrs. Sullivan, he said. He'd seen Morrison's paperwork, knew I was claiming through a trust. Congratulations, if you'll follow me. We went into a conference room, fluorescent lights, plastic chairs, a table with forms spread across it. Another official joined us. Witness, photographer. They needed photos for their records, not for publication. Morrison had made that clear. David Chen walked me through the paperwork. Claim form, identity verification, tax withholding options. The jackpot is $2.3 million, he said. Federal tax withholding is 24%. Connecticut state tax is 6.99%. If you take the lump sum, your after-tax amount will be approximately $1.59 million. $1.59 million. I signed the forms. My hand shook. They took my photo. Asked me to hold the oversized check. For their files only. Ma'am, David Chen said when we were done. He smiled. Kind. Like he genuinely wanted me to be happy. You've won $2.3 million. That's life-changing money. I hope it brings you peace. Peace. I thought about Sarah, about that guest room, about making myself small. Thank you, I said. I walked out of that office with official paperwork and a promise that the check would be issued within 2 weeks. The trust would receive it, Morrison would deposit it, and my life would never be the same. I sat in my car in that parking lot, the paperwork on the passenger seat, and I let myself cry. Not sad tears, not happy tears, something in between, relief maybe, or the weight of 35 years finally lifting. I'd given Sarah everything, and she'd thrown me out the night before I won. The irony wasn't lost on me. 2 days later, I met with Morrison again, this time with a financial advisor he'd recommended, Linda Chen, no relation to anyone, just another Chen. Linda's office was in downtown Stamford, modern, glass and steel. She was in her 50s, calm, professional. She showed me portfolio projections, investment strategies, numbers that didn't feel real. With $1.59 million, she said, we can structure this so you never touch the principal, live off the investment income, 4% withdrawal rate. That's approximately $63,000 a year, before taxes on the income. $63,000 a year, more than triple my pension. You'll never need to depend on anyone again, Linda said. Those words. I'd been thinking them since the diner, but hearing someone else say them made them real. We set up accounts, diversified index funds, municipal bonds, dividend stocks, a cash reserve for emergencies. Linda explained everything in terms I could understand. She didn't talk down to me, didn't assume I was too old to understand investing. She asked about my teaching career, smiled when I told her about second graders. My mother was a teacher, she said, elementary school. She retired at 65, said it was the best career she could have imagined. A small moment, but it mattered. She saw me as a person, not just a client, not just a number. Morrison's desk had one personal item, a framed photo of a woman in her 50s, laughing at the camera. I'd noticed it at our first meeting. My wife, Morrison had said when he caught me looking. She passed 3 years ago. Cancer. I'm sorry, I'd said. My husband died 8 years ago. Heart attack. He'd nodded. We understood each other. Loss recognizes loss. Now in Linda's office, finalizing the accounts, I felt something shift. This wasn't just about the money. It was about control, about agency, about being seen. The bank account statement arrived by email a week later, November 26th, the day before Thanksgiving. I opened it on my phone, sitting in that motel room, the heater still rattling, the walls still thin, $1,590,000. I stared at the numbers until they stopped making sense. I'd worked 35 years as a teacher, saved carefully, lived modestly, never had more than $30,000 at once. And now this, because of $5 and a November night when my daughter left me out in the cold. Morrison called that afternoon, professional, efficient. Mrs. Sullivan, I wanted to let you know the trust documents for your grandchildren are ready. 2 separate irrevocable trusts. One for Emma, one for Noah, $200,000 each. They'll have access at 25? I asked. Correct. Or earlier for qualified education expenses. Tuition, books, room and board. You're the trustee. You have discretion to approve those expenses. But Sarah has no access, no control. If something happens to you, your friend Diane is named as successor trustee. Diane. I'd talked to Morrison about her, told him she was the only person I truly trusted. And my will? I asked. Updated. If something happens to you, the trusts continue for Emma and Noah. The remaining estate goes to them as well. Sarah will receive your grandmother's china set and your photo albums, sentimental items, no money. It sounded harsh when he said it like that, cutting my own daughter out of my will, but she'd cut me out of her life first. She'd made me feel like a burden, like I'd outlived my usefulness. I was protecting myself. There was a difference. There's one more thing, Morrison said. I drafted a no-contact preference letter. It's not legally binding like a restraining order, but it documents your wishes. If Sarah contacts you against your stated preferences, it creates a paper trail. Do you think I'll need it? I asked. I think it's good to have options, he said. You don't have to file it now. But if things get complicated, it's ready. Complicated. That was one word for it. Thank you, I said. For everything. Mrs. Sullivan, I've handled a lot of family disputes in my career. Inheritance fights, elder financial abuse. This is different. Most people want revenge. You want peace. That says a lot about your character. I didn't feel peaceful. I felt exhausted, scared, like I was standing on the edge of something I couldn't see clearly yet, but I was standing. That counted for something. I called Diane that night. I hadn't talked to her in almost 2 weeks. She'd texted, called, left voicemails. I'd responded with brief messages. I'm okay. I'll call soon. Now I needed to hear her voice, not to tell her about the money. I couldn't do that yet, but to remember that I still had someone who cared. "Maggie," she said when she picked up, relief in her voice. "I've been so worried about you. I know, I'm sorry. I've just been figuring things out." "Where are you staying?" "A motel on Route 1. It's fine, really." A pause. Then, "Have you talked to Sarah?" "No." "She's been asking about you, calling me, texting. She seems, I don't know, worried maybe?" Worried? 2 weeks ago she'd told me to find my own place. Now she was worried. "I'm not ready to talk to her yet," I said. "I understand. Mags, are you really okay? You sound different." Different? I was different. I just couldn't tell her how different yet. "I'm okay," I said. "Better than I've been in a long time, actually." "That's good. That's really good. You know we're here for you, right? Whenever you're ready." "I know. Thank you, Diane." After we hung up, I sat in that motel room. The paperwork from Morrison spread on the bed. Account statements, trust documents, a new will. 2 weeks ago, I had $3,800 and no place to live. Now I had $1.59 million and a future I'd never imagined. But I was still in a motel room, still alone, still figuring out who I was going to be now. The money was safe, protected. Sarah couldn't touch it. Nobody could. Now I just had to figure out what came next. Thanksgiving week, Sarah texted me. I was still in that motel room, still figuring out my next move. The money was safe, protected. But I hadn't told anyone, hadn't made any decisions about what came next. The text came Tuesday morning, November 22nd. "Mom, where are you? The kids are asking about you. We're having Thanksgiving on Thursday. Can you come? Please?" I sat on the edge of the bed, read it 3 times. The kids are asking. Not, "I miss you." Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "I made a mistake." The kids are asking. She didn't even miss me herself. I remembered the last Thanksgiving at Sarah's house, a year ago. I'd spent 2 days helping her cook. Turkey, stuffing, 3 kinds of pie, the whole Norman Rockwell spread. Emma had helped me make the apple pie, her small hands working the dough, flour on her nose. "This is the best part, Grandma," she'd said, "cooking with you." Noah had set the table, proudly, carefully. Put the napkins exactly where I showed him. The house had smelled like butter and cinnamon, like home. But then Sarah had snapped at me, in front of everyone. "Mom, you overcooked the turkey. It's dry." It wasn't dry. It was perfect. Tom had taught me how to brine a turkey 40 years ago. I knew what I was doing. But I'd apologized anyway. "I'm sorry, honey. I'll do better next year." David had looked uncomfortable. The kids had gone quiet, and I'd felt small. That's when I knew. I wasn't family anymore. I was staff. Now, sitting in this motel room, staring at Sarah's text, I realized something. The money didn't fix the pain of being thrown out like trash, but the money gave me something I hadn't had in years, a choice. I didn't have to go back. I didn't have to be grateful for crumbs. I didn't have to accept whatever version of love Sarah was willing to give me. For 35 years, I'd made myself smaller to make her comfortable, quieter, more invisible. I thought that was love. I thought that was being a good mother. But it wasn't. It was fear. Fear of conflict. Fear of being too much. Fear of losing the only family I had left. I was done being afraid, I texted back. 3 words I'd never said to her before. "I'm not coming." The response came 30 seconds later. "Mom, you're being ridiculous. The kids will be so disappointed." I looked at that message. The manipulation was so clear now. Not, "I'll be disappointed." The kids. I turned off my phone. For the first time in 35 years, I didn't care if she was angry with me. Saturday morning, I went to Phil's corner store. Same ritual, same time. 8 a.m., coffee, scratch-off, Powerball. Phil looked up when I walked in, smiled. "Haven't seen you in a few weeks, Maggie. You okay?" I handed him a $10 bill. "I'm better than okay, Phil. I'm figuring things out." He made change, handed me my tickets and coffee. "That's good. You deserve good things, Maggie. You've always been kind to everyone, even when things were hard." I didn't tell him I'd already won. The ticket from 2 weeks ago had changed everything. But standing there in his store, buying another ticket, I realized something. This ritual wasn't about winning anymore. It never really was. It was about choosing something for myself. That small act of independence. I'd been doing it for 30 years. I just hadn't realized what it meant. Tom started this ritual because he believed in possibility, in hope, in the idea that working-class people like us deserve to dream. I kept it going after he died because it was mine, my choice. My $5 a week, in a life where I'd spent decades putting everyone else first, this was the one thing I did just for me. And now, standing in Phil's store with $1.5 million in the bank, I realized I'd always had this choice. I just hadn't known it. The money didn't make me free. The choice did. "Thanks, Phil," I said. I walked out into the cold November morning. The sun was just coming up. The air was crisp. I felt different, lighter, like something I'd been carrying for years had finally lifted. Back at the motel, I made a decision. I called a realtor, asked about condos in the Willows, a 55-plus community I'd driven past 100 times, garden courtyard, community center, quiet. The realtor had a 2-bedroom available, ground floor, garden view, $285,000. "I'll take it," I said, cash. "Don't you want to see it first?" she asked. "Yes, but I'll take it." We scheduled a tour for Monday, but I already knew. This was the next step. My own place, my own space. Not a motel room, not Sarah's guest room. Mine. That night, I thought about Sarah's text, about Thanksgiving, about the kids asking for me. I missed Emma and Noah more than I could say, missed their hugs, their drawings, their questions about everything. But I couldn't go back to Sarah's house, not to make her feel better, not to play the role of grateful mother who should be happy with whatever scraps she was offered. Some doors close quietly. This one did. Sarah had made a choice 2 weeks ago. She told me to leave. She decided I was a burden. Now I was making a choice. I was choosing myself. And maybe that was the lesson I should have learned decades ago. That loving someone doesn't mean disappearing for them. That being a mother doesn't mean accepting whatever treatment comes your way. I sat there in that motel room, the heater rattling, the couple next door watching TV too loud, and I realized something that should have been obvious all along. I deserved better. I deserved a daughter who valued me, who saw me as a person, not a problem, who remembered the $85,000 for college and the $40,000 for her wedding and the $25,000 for her down payment and thought, maybe I should be kinder to the woman who gave me everything. But I couldn't make Sarah be that person. I could only choose who I was going to be. And I was going to be the woman who bought her own home, who made her own choices, who stood up on her own 2 feet, the woman who looked at a lottery ticket and thought, this is my chance, not for revenge, not to prove anything to Sarah, but to prove something to myself, that I was worth more than a guest room and a list of rules, that I was worth more than being made to feel small. I was 68 years old, and for the first time in my adult life, I was choosing myself. That counted for something. December arrived. With it came Sarah's voicemails. The first one came 3 days after I didn't show up for Thanksgiving. "Mom, this is silly. The kids asked about you all day. Emma made you a place card. Just come back. You can stay as long as you need. I mean it this time." I deleted it. The second one came a week later. "Mom, Diane says you're staying at a motel. That's ridiculous. You don't have money for that. Come home. We'll figure it out." Home. Sarah's house was never my home. The third voicemail came mid-December. Her tone had changed, less apologetic, more investigating. "Mom, where are you getting money? Diane won't tell me anything. Are you okay? I'm worried about you." Worried. Now she was worried. The fourth voicemail came December 20th. Christmas was 5 days away. Mom, I don't know what's going on with you. This isn't like you. Are you having some kind of breakdown? You need to call me back. The kids deserve to see their grandmother. I listened to that one twice. Then I deleted it too. Sarah's messages were escalating. Guilt, investigation, gaslighting. The pattern was so clear now. She'd never asked if I was okay when I lived in her guest room. Never worried about my mental health when she was counting how many times I used her washing machine. But now that I was gone, now that she couldn't control me, suddenly I was having a breakdown. The condo closed on December 15th. The Willows, Unit 2 EB, ground floor, garden courtyard view. I'd toured it once, walked through the empty rooms, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen that overlooked a community garden where residents grew tomatoes and roses in the summer. It's perfect, I'd told the realtor. She'd seemed surprised I didn't negotiate, didn't ask for repairs, just signed the papers and wired the money. All cash deals close fast, she said. You'll have keys by Christmas. Moving day was December 22nd. I didn't have much. The suitcase from Sarah's house, some clothes, a few books, the things I'd bought over the past month, bedding, towels, a coffee maker. A woman was planting winter pansies in the courtyard when I arrived. 70 maybe, white hair, kind eyes. She looked up and waved. You must be the new owner of 2B, she called out. I'm Joyce, Unit 2D. Welcome to the Willows. Maggie, I said. Margaret Sullivan. Well, Maggie, if you need anything, I'm right down the hall. Garden Club meets Thursday nights. You should come. We're planning the spring perennials. I thanked her, carried my suitcase inside, closed the door, my own space. Nobody asking me to be quieter. Nobody counting my laundry loads. Nobody making me feel like I was taking up too much room. I stood in that empty living room, sunlight coming through the windows, and I cried. Not sad tears, not happy tears. Something in between. Relief, maybe, or grief for the family I thought I had, or both. 2 days before Christmas, Sarah showed up at the motel. I'd kept the room, paid through the end of the month. Wasn't ready to give anyone my new address yet. Not even Diane. I was loading the last of my things into my car when Sarah pulled up. Her SUV, expensive, the one she'd bought last year, the one I'd helped make the down payment for, not that she'd ever mentioned that. She got out, heels, work clothes, like she'd come straight from the office. Mom, she said, her face a mix of relief and irritation. What are you doing? This is insane. You're living in a Motel 6? I kept loading boxes, didn't stop, didn't turn around. I'm fine, Sarah. You're not fine. Look at this place. Mom, come back. Whatever I said, whatever I did, I'm sorry, okay? Can we just move past this? I finally turned to face her, looked at my daughter, really looked at her. She'd lost weight. Her face was drawn, stress lines deeper than they'd been a month ago. Part of me wanted to ask if she was okay, if she needed help, if David had found work yet. But I didn't, because this wasn't about whether Sarah was struggling. This was about whether she saw me as a person. Sarah, I appreciate the offer, but I'm not coming back. Her face changed. Confusion, then calculation. How? She asked. How are you paying for all this? You don't have money. Your pension barely covers... She stopped, looked at my car, at the boxes, new things, things I hadn't had a month ago. Did someone die? She asked. Did Aunt Linda die? Did you get an inheritance? I didn't answer. Mom, what's going on? You're acting strange. You need to tell me what's happening. I'm taking care of myself, I said. That's what's happening. But how? Where are you staying? Where's all this stuff coming from? I picked up the last box, put it in my trunk, closed it. I need to go, Sarah. Mom, have a nice Christmas. I got in my car, started the engine. Sarah stood there in the motel parking lot, watching me, her face a mixture of confusion and something else. Anger, maybe, or fear that she'd lost control. I drove away, watched her shrink in my rearview mirror, And I didn't feel guilty, didn't feel like I owed her an explanation. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had the power, and she knew it. She just didn't know why. Christmas Eve, Sarah invited me to Christmas dinner. Text message, casual. Like the motel parking lot conversation hadn't happened. "Mom, please come tomorrow. The kids made you presents. Emma wants you to see her gingerbread house. It's Christmas. Family should be together." I stared at that message for a long time. I missed the kids, missed them so much it hurt. Emma's hugs, Noah's stories about school, the way they both looked at me like I hung the moon. But I couldn't go back to Sarah's house, not to play pretend, not to sit at her table and act like everything was fine while she tried to figure out where I was getting money. I texted back, "I can't make it, but give Emma and Noah my love. I'll see them soon." "When?" she replied immediately, "When I'm ready." She didn't respond after that. Christmas morning, I woke up in my new condo, sunlight through the windows, coffee in my new kitchen. Silence. Beautiful, peaceful silence. No Sarah snapping at me. No walking on eggshells. No making myself small. I thought about my grandchildren, wondered what they were doing. If they were disappointed, I wasn't there. If Sarah had told them I was sick or crazy or whatever story she'd decided to tell, it hurt, not being with them. But I knew I couldn't go back to that house. Not ever. Some doors close quietly. This one had. If I wanted a relationship with Emma and Noah, it would have to be on different terms. Away from Sarah's house. Away from her control, but I didn't know yet how to make that happen. That afternoon, Morrison called. "Mrs. Sullivan, I wanted to check in. See how you're settling in. I saw the condo closed on time." It did. "Thank you for handling everything." "Of course." "Mrs. Sullivan, I wanted to let you know we've received some inquiries. Standard media checks. Connecticut Lottery Office does minimal publicity even for anonymous claims. They notify local press that someone from the state won. Reporters sometimes try to dig. Has anyone contacted you?" My stomach dropped. "No." "Should I be worried?" "No. The trust protects you. Your name isn't anywhere. But I wanted you to be aware. If anyone starts asking questions, don't engage. Refer them to me." "Okay." "Mrs. Sullivan, has your daughter tried to contact you?" I hesitated. "Yes, she's called. Left voicemails. She showed up at the motel a few days ago." "Did you tell her about the lottery?" "No." "Good. Keep it that way. The longer you can maintain privacy, the better. Once people know you have money, everything changes. Even family, especially family." Especially family. "She's asking questions," I said, "wondering where I'm getting money. She thinks maybe I got an inheritance." "Let her think that or don't tell her anything. You don't owe her an explanation." After we hung up, I sat in my new living room, thought about Sarah's face in that parking lot, the calculation, the questions. She wasn't worried about me. She was worried about losing access to something she thought she might be entitled to. And I realized Morrison was right. Once she found out about the lottery, everything would change. She'd want the money, want to know why I wasn't sharing it, want to know how dare I keep secrets from her after everything she'd done for me. Everything she'd done for me. Like letting me stay in her guest room while she made me feel like a burden. I needed to stay ahead of her, keep the secret as long as possible, make my decisions before she could try to influence them. I was done being controlled. The call came late January, a Wednesday afternoon, Sarah's name on my phone. I almost didn't answer. 3 weeks had passed since Christmas. 3 weeks of silence. No voicemails, no texts, nothing. I'd started to think maybe she'd given up, that she'd finally accepted I wasn't coming back. I should have known better. "Mom," she said when I picked up, her voice tight, controlled. "We need to talk. Now." "About what?" "You know what. I saw the news, Mom. Connecticut woman wins $2.3 million. Anonymous claim filed in late November. Through a trust." She paused. "It was you, wasn't it?" My heart stopped. The room tilted. "Sarah, don't lie to me. The timing matches. You stopped needing my help right when that jackpot hit. You bought a condo, cash. You're living in some retirement community. Where else would you get that kind of money? I sat down, my hands shaking. The secret I'd kept for 2 months, the protection Morrison had built, all of it crashing down because Sarah had put the pieces together. "We need to talk," she said again, face to face. "Tomorrow, I'll bring David. You can bring whoever you want, but we're doing this." "Sarah, I don't think—" "Tomorrow, Mom, 1 p.m. You pick the place, or I'll keep calling until you agree." I closed my eyes, thought about Morrison, about what he'd said. Once people know you have money, everything changes. "Morrison's office," I said finally. "My attorney, downtown Stamford. I'll text you the address." "Your attorney?" Her voice sharp. "Mom, why do you need an attorney? What's going on?" 1 p.m. tomorrow, Sarah. Bring David, if you want." I hung up, sat there in my living room, the condo I'd bought with lottery money, the life I'd built without her, and I knew everything was about to change. I called Morrison, told him what happened. He didn't sound surprised. "I'll clear my schedule," he said. "Conference room, 1 p.m. Mrs. Sullivan, I want you to think about what you want from this meeting. What are your terms? What are you willing to offer? What are your boundaries?" I thought about that all night. Couldn't sleep. Kept playing the conversation in my head. By morning, I knew exactly what I wanted to say. Morrison's office, February 3rd, 1 p.m. The conference room had a mahogany table, leather chairs, windows overlooking the harbor, professional, neutral, exactly what I needed. Morrison sat next to me, calm, prepared. He'd laid out documents, trust papers, my updated will, a letter outlining my preferences for contact. All of it ready. Sarah arrived at 1:15, fashionably late. David was with her. He looked uncomfortable, like he didn't want to be there, like he knew this wasn't going to go well. Sarah's eyes swept the room, took in Morrison, the documents, me. Her face hardened. "So it's true," she said. She didn't sit down. "You won the lottery, and you didn't tell me." "Sarah, please sit," Morrison said. "I'm Robert Morrison, Mrs. Sullivan's attorney. This meeting was requested to discuss some family matters and establish clear boundaries going forward." "Boundaries?" Sarah's voice went up. "She's my mother. We don't need attorneys for boundaries." "Sarah," David said quietly, "let's just sit down, hear what they have to say." She sat, reluctantly, her arms crossed, her jaw tight. Morrison slid a document across the table. "Mrs. Sullivan has established trusts for your children, Emma and Noah, $200,000 each. They'll have access at age 25, or earlier for qualified education expenses, tuition, books, room and board." Sarah stared at the paper. 200,000 each for Emma and Noah? Yes. What about me? There it was. The question I'd known was coming. The only question that really mattered to her. "Sarah," I said, my voice steady, calmer than I felt. "I've taken care of your children's futures, their education, their start in life, but I'm not giving you money directly." Her face flushed. "Are you serious? After everything I've done for you? Everything you've done for me?" The words came out before I could stop them. "Sarah, you told me to find my own place. You kicked me out 3 months ago, the night before I won." "I was stressed, Mom. You know that. I had work, the mortgage, the kids' school, David's job. I couldn't handle one more thing." "I wasn't a thing, Sarah. I was your mother." She looked away. "I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry I said it like that, but you can't just cut me out. I'm your daughter." Morrison spoke. "Mrs. Sullivan isn't cutting you out. She's setting boundaries. The trusts for your children are substantial. Your children will be well provided for. But what about me? What about my house? My mortgage? Do you know how hard it is to keep everything together? I looked at my daughter. Really looked at her. She was 45 years old, educated, employed, making good money, and she was sitting across from me, asking why I wasn't solving her financial problems. "Sarah, you told me I was a burden. Those were your exact words. You didn't say you were stressed. You didn't say you needed space. You said I needed to find my own place, like I was a roommate you were evicting. I didn't mean it like that." "Yes, you did, and I heard you." David shifted in his seat, uncomfortable. "Maggie, Sarah's been under a lot of pressure. The layoffs at my company, the tuition, we're drowning financially." "I understand that," I said. "I do, but David, I was drowning too, and nobody asked if I was okay." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Mom, please, I made a mistake. I was overwhelmed. I didn't know what else to do. You don't understand what it's like, trying to hold everything together, feeling like you're failing at everything." And there it was, the crack. The moment where I could see my daughter not as the woman who'd hurt me, but as someone who was scared, desperate, breaking under pressure she didn't know how to handle. Part of me wanted to comfort her, to say it was okay, to fix it like I'd always fix things for her. But I didn't, because this wasn't about whether Sarah was struggling. This was about whether she respected me. "Sarah, I gave you $85,000 for college, $40,000 for your wedding, $25,000 for your down payment. I babysat Emma and Noah for free for years. I gave you everything I had, and you threw me out the night before I won $2.3 million. "I know," she whispered. "I know, Mom. Love isn't enough when there's no respect. I made myself smaller in your house, quieter, more invisible. I thought that was what you needed, but it was never enough, was it?" She didn't answer, just cried, mascara smudging down her cheeks. David put a hand on her shoulder. She shook it off. "So what now?" she asked. "You're just going to cut me out? Pretend I don't exist?" Morrison slid another document across the table. "Mrs. Sullivan's updated will. Her estate will go to Emma and Noah. You'll receive your grandmother's china set and your mother's photo albums, sentimental items." Sarah laughed, bitter. "China and photos, that's what I'm worth to you?" "That's not what this is," I said. "Sarah, I'm protecting myself. There's a difference between punishment and boundaries. It doesn't feel different. I know, but it's what I need." Morrison continued. "Mrs. Sullivan is open to maintaining a relationship with you, but on certain terms. She'd like regular contact with Emma and Noah, supervised initially, away from your home. She's willing to pay their private school tuition directly to the school, not to you. She's also willing to cover their college education through the trusts, but there will be no direct financial support to you." Sarah stared at me. "You'll pay for the kids but not help me? Their mother?" "If I give you money, Sarah, it becomes about money. It stops being about whether you value me as a person. I need to know if you want a relationship with me or a relationship with my bank account." "That's not fair." "Maybe not, but it's where we are." Silence. Sarah looked at the documents, at Morrison, at David, at me. "What if I say no?" she asked. "What if I say I can't accept these terms?" Morrison spoke. "Then Mrs. Sullivan has prepared a no-contact preference letter. It's not legally binding, but it documents her wishes. It makes clear that any contact against her stated preferences is unwelcome." "So you'd actually cut me off? Your only daughter?" "Sarah," I said, my voice quiet, tired. "You cut me off first. I'm just deciding whether to let you back in, and if I do, it has to be on terms that keep me safe." David finally spoke. "Maggie, what about the kids? Emma and Noah. They miss you. Can you see them?" "Yes," I said immediately. "I want to see them. I miss them so much. But David, you'd need to facilitate it. Not Sarah. Not at first. I need time." He nodded. "I can do that. We can do that." Sarah looked at her husband. Then, back at me. I can't believe this. I can't believe you're doing this to me. I'm not doing this to you, Sarah. I'm doing this for me. Morrison gathered the documents. Sarah, take some time. Think about these terms. Talk to David. When you're ready, we can discuss a path forward. But Mrs. Sullivan's boundaries are firm. Sarah stood up, grabbed her purse. I need to go. David stood too. Sarah, I said I need to go. She left, didn't look back. David stayed a moment longer. I'm sorry, Maggie, for all of it. I'll call you about the kids, I promise. Then he was gone too. Morrison and I sat there in that conference room, the documents still on the table, the harbor view through the windows, and I felt empty, not triumphant, not vindicated, just exhausted. You did well, Morrison said. That couldn't have been easy. It wasn't. Mrs. Sullivan, most people in your situation want revenge, want to hurt the people who hurt them. You want peace. That says everything about your character. I don't feel peaceful. I feel tired. That's normal. You just set boundaries with someone who's used to controlling you. Of course you're tired. I looked at the papers on the table, the trusts, the will, the no-contact letter we didn't have to use. Not yet, anyway. Do you think she'll accept the terms? I asked. I don't know. But Mrs. Sullivan, you gave her a choice. That's more than she gave you. I drove home in silence, parked in my spot at the Willows, walked into my condo, my space, my peace. And I cried. For Sarah, for the relationship we'd had, for the relationship we'd never have, for the daughter who saw me as an ATM instead of a person. But I also cried for myself, because I'd stood up, I'd set boundaries, I'd chosen myself, and that counted for something, even if it hurt. 2 weeks after the meeting, David called. Maggie, it's David. I wanted to talk to you about the kids, about Emma and Noah. They really miss you. I'd been waiting for this call, hoping for it. I miss them too, I said. So much. Can we meet? Somewhere neutral. Just you and the kids. I'll stay close. But I think they need to see you, and I think you need to see them. Yes, please. Where? There's a coffee shop downtown, the Morning Brew. Saturday at 10, Emma and Noah can get hot chocolate. We can talk. Saturday couldn't come fast enough. The Morning Brew was busy. Families, couples, the Saturday morning rush. I got there early, sat in a corner booth, my hands shaking. What if they were angry with me? What if Sarah had told them I abandoned them? What if they didn't want to see me anymore? Then the door opened. Emma saw me first. Her face lit up. Grandma! She ran, hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. Noah was right behind her, both of them talking at once. Grandma, where have you been? Mom said you were sick. Are you better now? Can you come back? I held them, let the tears come. David stood back, giving us space, his eyes kind. We sat down. Emma ordered hot chocolate with extra whipped cream, just like always. Noah spilled his milk, apologized 3 times. I wiped it up, told him it was fine, normal, beautiful, like nothing had changed, except everything had changed. Grandma, Emma said. She was 12, old enough to understand more than Noah did. Why don't you live with us anymore? I looked at David. He nodded. Permission to be honest. Age appropriate, but honest. Your mom and I needed some space, I said carefully. We weren't getting along very well, so I moved into my own place. But that doesn't mean I stopped loving you, or your brother. You're still the most important people in my world. Are you and Mom fighting? Emma asked. We're figuring things out. It's complicated. But Emma, honey, this isn't about you. You and Noah didn't do anything wrong. Adult relationships are just hard sometimes. Do you still love Mom? Noah asked. 9 years old, innocent, direct. Yes, I said. Because it was true. I do. But sometimes loving someone means giving them space and taking space for yourself. Can we see you again? Emma asked. Not just today, like regularly. I looked at David. He smiled. That's why we're here. Your grandma and I talked. We're going to set up visits every other Saturday, just like this. You can come to my new place sometime, too. I have a spare bedroom. You could have sleepovers." Emma's face lit up. "Really? Really?" We spent an hour there, talking, laughing. Emma told me about school, about her art project, about the gingerbread house she'd made for Christmas that I hadn't seen. Noah told me about his new Lego set, about his friend Marcus, about everything. When David said it was time to go, Emma hugged me again, whispered in my ear, "I missed you so much, Grandma." "I missed you too, sweetheart, but I'm not going anywhere now, I promise." This was why I'd set boundaries instead of burning bridges. 3 weeks later, a letter arrived, handwritten envelope, Sarah's handwriting. I almost didn't open it, but I did. It was short, 1 page, careful handwriting, like she'd written it several times before getting it right. "Mom, I've had time to think. I was wrong. I was overwhelmed and I took it out on you. I know you don't trust me right now. I don't blame you. I'm seeing a therapist. David suggested it. We're working on things. My anxiety, my control issues, the way I treat people when I'm under pressure. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I hope someday we can have a relationship again. The kids need their grandma. I need my mom. Even if I didn't act like it, I'm sorry for what I said. I'm sorry for how I treated you. I'm sorry you felt like a burden. You were never a burden. I was just drowning. And I pulled you under with me. I'm sorry. Sarah." I read it 3 times. Each time I looked for manipulation, for excuses, for anything that felt false. But it wasn't there. This felt real, raw. Like Sarah had finally looked at herself and didn't like what she saw. I sat at my kitchen table, the morning sun coming through the window, and I wrote back, "Sarah, I appreciate your letter. I'm glad you're getting help. I need more time." What you said that night. "You need to find your own place. That hurt more than you know. I know you were stressed. But I'm your mother, not a roommate you can evict. The kids and I are spending time together, and that's a start. David's been wonderful about facilitating visits. Let's take this slow. I hope your therapy helps. I really do." Mom, I mailed it that afternoon. Didn't overthink it, didn't second guess. Sarah needed to hear that I wasn't closing the door completely, but I also wasn't throwing it wide open. Boundaries. That's what Morrison had called them. Fences with gates. You decide who comes through. By March, my life had settled into a rhythm. Book club with Diane every Thursday. She'd finally stopped asking about where I'd gotten the money for the condo. Accepted that I'd tell her when I was ready. Garden club with Joyce every other Wednesday. We were planning spring perennials, roses, hydrangeas, things that would bloom year after year. Visits with Emma and Noah every other Saturday. Sometimes at the morning brew, sometimes at my place. They loved the spare bedroom. Emma had already asked if she could paint a mural on one wall. I'd said yes. And once a month, I went to the senior center downtown, started volunteering, leading a support group for older adults navigating family financial issues. I didn't tell them about the lottery. That wasn't the point. The point was, you don't need money to set boundaries. You just need to remember you're worth protecting. A woman came up to me after group 1 week, 74 years old, gray hair, kind eyes, tired. "Your story gave me courage," she said. "My son's been asking me to co-sign a loan for the 7th time. I've always said yes before, but today I told him no. Because of what you said, that being a mother doesn't mean accepting whatever comes your way." I hugged her. Didn't even know her name, but I knew her story. Because it was my story, and it was the story of so many people who'd been told that love meant sacrifice without limit. "You deserve better," I told her. We all do. One Saturday in late March, I went to Phil's corner store. Same ritual, same time, coffee, scratch-off, Powerball. Phil smiled when I walked in. "Maggie, you look good, happy." "I am happy, Phil. I really am." He handed me my tickets, my coffee. You know, Maggie, I've known you for 30 years. I've never seen you like this, lighter, like something heavy finally lifted. I thought about telling him, about the lottery ticket from November, about how his store had changed my life. But I didn't, because the lottery ticket wasn't what made me free. The choice was. Things are good, Phil. Really good. Well, you deserve it. You've always been kind to everyone, even when things were hard. I walked out into the March morning. The sun was bright. The air smelled like spring. New beginnings. I still bought lottery tickets every Saturday, not because I needed to win, but because the ritual reminded me I choose my own life. I always had. I just hadn't known it. Morrison called in early April, a check-in, making sure everything was okay. Mrs. Sullivan, I wanted to follow up. How are things progressing with your daughter? Slowly, I said. She sent a letter. She's in therapy. We're not close yet, but we're not completely estranged either. That's good. And the grandchildren? I see them every other week. David's been wonderful. It's working. I'm glad to hear it. Mrs. Sullivan, when I first met you, you were living in a motel. Unsure, scared. You've come a long way. I have. Thank you for everything. For protecting me. For helping me stand up. Mrs. Sullivan, I didn't help you stand up. You did that yourself. I just made sure you had the legal structure to stay standing. After we hung up, I sat in my living room, looked around at my space, my books, my furniture, my peace. I'd started with $3,800 and a daughter who told me to leave. I'd won a lottery, $2.3 million. But that's not what changed my life. What changed my life was deciding I deserved better. Deciding that being a mother didn't mean disappearing. Deciding that at 68 years old I could choose myself. The money made it possible. But the choice made it real. And that made all the difference. It's May now. 6 months since that cold November night when Sarah told me to leave. I live alone in a 2-bedroom condo at the Willows. Unit 2B. Ground floor. Garden courtyard view. It's small, but it's mine. Every morning I make my coffee and sit by the window overlooking the garden. Joyce waves from her morning walk. Sometimes she stops by. We talk about the roses we planted, about the garden club meeting next week, about nothing and everything. Diane picks me up for book club every Thursday night. We're reading a mystery about a woman who reinvents herself after her husband dies. Diane says it reminds her of me. I tell her my story is messier, less neat, but maybe that's more honest. Emma and Noah come over every other Saturday. Last weekend, Emma painted a mural on her bedroom wall. Butterflies, bright colors. She said it makes the room feel happy. Noah built a Lego city on the spare room floor. Said he's leaving it there so he can add to it next time. They're my grandchildren, and I get to be their grandma again. Not on Sarah's terms, on mine. Sarah and I talk once a month. Phone calls, careful, polite. She's still in therapy, still working on herself. We're not close. Maybe we never will be again, but we're not enemies either. She asked me last week if I'd come to Emma's 8th grade graduation in June. I said yes, I'll sit with David, not with Sarah. But I'll be there. Small steps. That's all I can manage right now, and that's okay. I'm rebuilding. It's not the life I planned. It's not the family I thought I had, but it's mine. I'm not dependent on anyone. I'm not making myself small. I'm not apologizing for taking up space. Some days are hard. I miss the version of Sarah I thought existed, the daughter who valued me, who saw me as a person, not a problem. But I'm here. I'm standing. And that counts for something. I volunteer at the senior center downtown 3 times a month now, lead a support group for older adults navigating family financial issues. I don't tell them about the lottery. That's not the point. The point is, you don't need money to set boundaries. You just need to remember you're worth protecting. Last week, a man in his 70s told the group his daughter had been taking money from his account without asking. $5,000 over 6 months. He'd never said anything because he didn't want to cause problems. But you said something last month, he told me. You said being a parent doesn't mean accepting whatever comes your way. So I talked to her, set up a separate account she can't access, and I feel like I can breathe again. The group clapped. He cried. I hugged him. These stories, these people. This is what the money bought me. Not just security for myself, but the freedom to help others find their own security. Emma's trust, Noah's trust, my volunteer work, the quiet conversations with people who thought they didn't have choices. That's my legacy, not the lottery ticket, but what I did with the chance it gave me. People ask me if I'm glad I won the lottery. Honestly, I wish I'd never needed to. I wish Sarah had valued me more than she resented me. I wish that cold November night had never happened, but it did. And here's what I learned. You don't owe anyone your dignity, not even your children. Being someone's parent doesn't make you their servant. Love should never require you to disappear. Financial independence matters, but emotional independence matters more. You can't buy boundaries. You can't purchase self-respect. Those things come from inside, from deciding you deserve better. And here's the truth nobody tells you. Setting boundaries hurts. Even when they're necessary, even when you're protecting yourself. You'll second guess. You'll wonder if you're being too harsh, too unforgiving. But boundaries aren't walls. They're fences with gates. You decide who comes through, and you can change your mind later if someone proves they've changed. I'm 68 years old. I spent most of my life putting other people first, making myself smaller, quieter, more convenient. The lottery gave me money, but it didn't give me freedom. The choice did. The decision that I mattered, that I deserved a life where I wasn't constantly apologizing for existing. If you're watching this and you recognize yourself in my story, if you've ever felt like a burden to your own child, if you've ever been made to feel small in a home you helped build, please hear me. You are not too old to start over. You are not too tired to set boundaries. You are not asking too much when you ask for basic respect. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have forgiven Sarah? Cut her off completely? Let me know in the comments. Maybe your story can help someone else who's struggling with the same choice. And remember, the best time to choose yourself was yesterday. The second best time is right now. I still buy a lottery ticket every Saturday at Phil's Corner Store, not because I need the money, but because some rituals are about more than winning. They're about remembering, I choose my own life. Diane picks me up for book club in 20 minutes. Joyce and I are planting tomatoes in the community garden after lunch. These are my people now, not by blood, by choice. And that makes all the difference.